Hello, hello, hello. Hey, if anyone is here on YouTube, you can join me here or you can join me on Instagram. So, YouTube and Instagram both work great. Black or white thinking. What do we have out of that? How our body reacts to the rigid mind, to these very, very set beliefs that define our life. So, black or white thinking. Where is it coming from? We're going to talk about roots and causes. We're going to talk about why we start to have this black or white thinking. What is it causing us to do? Why it's so hard for us to really come out of that thinking, right? So, what is black and white thinking? It's when we only intensely support one belief or one thought or one perception. For example, you can't trust people. You cannot trust anyone. So somehow people say that you can't trust people, but then they expect to trust themselves. But in reality, when we don't trust people, we don't trust ourselves as well, because we are part of this world. How we treat others is very often how we treat ourselves, even though externally it might not look like that. You can have someone who takes care of themselves so much, right, in terms of skin and hair, and however, how they treat other people is the way they treat themselves internally, right? You might have this amazing perfect vision of someone, like this look, but at the same time inside there could be a very strong inner critic or inner punisher, whatever it is. But so black and white thinking is when we say I will never, or I will always do that. I will never do that. This is not right. This is completely, absolutely not correct. If you notice yourself saying that, it means that it could be a black or white thinking in your mind. And we'll talk about this, even the physical symptoms that come out of these kind of mindset. This is a mindset. It's not you. Your mindset is your tool, and you can shape it. You can absolutely shape it in whatever you want. So you might not know how to do that yet, but this is why I'm here, to tell you how to do that, because I've started that journey long ago. No, not long ago, but about 3 years ago, that I've very actively started to open my mind. My mind was very black or white. I would say that I'm a huge example of how people can change in terms of their thinking, in terms of their mindset, and it doesn't have to take incredible amount of therapy sessions or some kind of a specific tool. No, it just happens naturally once you open your mind to one thing. Once you open your mind to, when you shift one belief, it's like a snowball. Everything else starts to shift as well. What are the roots and causes of this black or white or white or black thinking? Usually it's the parents or caregivers. Very often, for example, you were a little child. Maybe you were 5 or 6 or 7. You were just playing with your toys, or you were watching a movie, and you hear that your parents talk to each other, or your caregivers, or your parents talking to your siblings, or even on the phone with their friends and family. And you hear this type of phrase: oh, women are always like that. Or men are always like that. You can never trust these people or this kind of people. People never change. Or this economy is messed up. Or our government is a trash. Or this country is going down the drain. So all of these phrases that we've heard, even though they might not even be directed to us, but they make us start to believe. They help us, right? Because you absorb everything. As a child, you're like a sponge. So when you start to hear a lot of words like I will never, always, what else? Grades in school, by the way, when we are graded in school according to our performance, right? And we come home and we say, oh, mom, I got 70% in math. In Ukraine, it would be like 3, for example, or it would be 6 or 7 if it's 12 a point system. If it's a 100% system, then it would be 70. So I got the 70, and mom or dad or a caregiver starts to be mad at you and say it's not enough. You didn't try hard, right? You start to be evaluated according to an absolute perfect 100, or if it's lower than that, that's nothing. That's fail, right? That's failing. 80s is not good. It's a fail because you could have done better. So all of this criticism and maybe even punishment for many of us, that can lead to us forming the belief that it's only like this or like this. So if you tell yourself, then you expect, oh, it has to be like this and not the other way around, then very often we will have black or white thinking. So the rigid mind, the mind becomes very rigid. So the mind kind of locks onto the belief, and you put your mind into this little box. The subconscious mind is very suggestible in all of us. We're all very suggestible. So the younger we are, the more suggestible we are. So you might not even believe that you're suggestible right now. I have lots of clients who say, I can't be hypnotized, or I cannot even relax in the meditation. It's not because you're not suggestible. It's because you're afraid to go inwards. It's not about suggestibility at all. So if you're afraid that, oh, I cannot be hypnotized, or I cannot close my eyes, I cannot let go of control, it doesn't mean that it's true. It means that you are afraid. You're afraid to go inwards and to find the answers. So maybe there is something that you are shutting down for a very long time, and that's really painful. And you don't want to look into that issue for now until it starts to show up in a lot of symptoms, especially if we have physical symptoms. That's when we cannot ignore it anymore. You know that we can ignore emotional symptoms much more than we can ignore physical symptoms, because when it hurts physically, right, you cannot do anything. Even the painkillers cannot really shut it down for 100%. While with emotional pain, we can do something. For example, we can numb the pain with substances, alcohol, we can binge, we can binge Netflix, we can binge food, and that can help. But in terms of physical pain, right? Sometimes our body is like, oh, no, I'm going to give you the symptom. I'm going to talk about the symptoms of the rigid mind. So if you've heard in your childhood a lot of these phrases, for example, threats and punishments. If you don't do this, if your parent used to tell you, if you don't do this, I'm going to punish you. If you either do this or it's nothing. How often we as children hear that? And we forget about these phrases. Really, very often we forget, especially if we don't have kids. Then we forget because we don't say that to anyone else unless it's us or our partners. But when we have kids, I notice that a lot, that all the programming from the past comes back. So that's really important to notice, to observe that moment. So when, for example, your parents say, you either go and wash the dishes or you're not going to see this. So it's like, it's the ultimate, right? This kind of a lack of choice, right? So very often, because parents are frustrated, they're busy, they don't have time, they don't have time for negotiations. Kids are masters of negotiation. If you want to find an approach to your kid, negotiate with them. They are masters. They are so flexible and so adaptable to negotiation, and they love it. They love it. If you cut them out of their choices, if you shut them down with, like, you either do this or this, you only have this option and nothing else, then they will rebel, either now or later when they can. Right? I've had a lot of clients, by the way, who were very good until it. They were very like obedient, good people trying to perform well until the age of 18 or 19, and then they start to rebel, they start to act out, they start to go, on all of these adventures, unhealthy adventures, just because they need to get it all out, right? They feel the freedom. So if we limit our kids' choices, or if we were limited in our choices very often, right? It will show up later. It will show up later. In what ways? I don't know. By the way, how you can understand or really see that we are all very different, that our perception is so unique to us. So, this is how you can do that. You can close your eyes, and when you close your eyes, you can imagine a forest. Imagine a beautiful forest, and in that forest, you see a reindeer. It's a reindeer. And there is a rat. Maybe there is someone, maybe a fox, some other animals. And you just observe that image in your mind. And now, if you open your eyes, right, you can absolutely, for example, me, what I saw in that image that I created right now verbally, I saw different trees. They were green. Like, I imagined a certain season. I imagined a reindeer of a Christmas, because it's a Christmas. So I was like, okay, reindeer, it's a Christmas reindeer. I imagined a fox that really looked like this really nice breed of dog. Shiba Inu, I think, right? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but you got the point. Other people, you, for example, you probably imagined it completely different, the different set of trees, the different kind of trees. Maybe you were in the forest, because I wasn't. I was looking at it. Maybe you were in the forest. Maybe you were walking. I was just observing. You were walking, maybe. It's so different. It could be colorful. It could be black or white. You could see these animals, and maybe your mind pictured some other animals. This is a good example of how different we are in our thinking, in our inner vision. This is called inner vision, right? You have, when you open your eyes, that's it. You switch on the logic. And it's really hard to really find the answers, find the truth. Which means that we're all very different. So our black or white thinking will also be very different. It will be very tailored specifically to you. So if you've identified that you have this black or white thinking, very often people say logically that it helps them. Because, oh, well, I can stand up for myself. I know what I want, or other pros of having this black or white thinking or rigid mind. I call it a rigid mind because it's very rigid. It doesn't let in, and I'll show you the symptoms. It doesn't let in any other point of view. And by the way, people who are poor, who are poor, they usually have the rigid mind because they want the stability. They don't want the change, right? People who are more successful, not even in the financial sense, not even in the financial sense, but just successful, meaning they have the inner peace, they have the skills that they do what they love, right? They are more happier. They're happier than other set of people. So when we have that, these people, successful people, they have more open mind, right? They have open mind. They're not locked onto one belief. They say, that resonates with me, but that doesn't mean it's true, right? So for now, it resonates with me, but I'm not sure if that's going to be in the future. So they're very flexible. Right? And that's not only about the successful people, but about the rich people, right? Or people that you look up to, for example. If you have someone that you look up to, right? You know these people have open mind. How to recognize the person with the open mind? They usually don't talk a lot. Yeah, they don't talk a lot. They listen more than they talk. So also they are like, you are drawn to them. You are drawn to be around them because they're very open and you feel understood and you feel seen and you feel trust. You trust that person. This is how you can identify if the person has a rigid mind or a very open mind. What is why, by the way, why we start to have this black or white thinking, even when we grow up, when those beliefs or those words that their parents told us, they're not there, they're not in our life anymore, but we still believe in them. It's because of the rules of the mind, the subconscious mind that doesn't know time, right? So it forms the beliefs and then it just shows up in different areas of your life. And being ignorant, not observing that, leads to having problems, emotional and physical. Right? So I'm going to show you how black and white thinking works because I love to draw. You know that. I say that in every live that I love to draw. I'm going to draw you this little, and I've learned that from my Reiki teacher. She's amazing, you know, and she draw this, and I want to show you this because you need to really see how black and white thinking works and why we cannot find balance. When we have black and white rigid thinking, we cannot find the inner balance. We cannot find the balance, and because we cannot find the balance, we cannot find joy or even happy feelings, right? So this is how it works. So this is the balance. Imagine this is your balance. This is something that you are looking forward to, that this is the meaning, the purpose of your life, right? To find that inner peace, whatever it entails. And then you can say it's like, right? And here you will have all the positive thinking. For example, all the positive things that happen to you, or even emotions like excitement, happiness, joy, all of these inspiration, motivation. And here you have all the negative thinking, all the negative thoughts and the feelings and emotions, sadness. So, and it's like this. And it's like this, right? So if you can find like this. So the more you go into the side, so the more intense your positive thinking, we usually want to stay here for a long time. We want to stay here forever. But that's not possible because the more you go in here, the more you can go in back. Right? The inner peace is here. It's like if you look at people who are, I don't know, spiritual people, let's just say, not those who, for example, market them as spiritual people, right? But actually spiritual people, you'll know them, you'll notice them, really. So usually they are not showing very intense emotions. You can notice they never show those intense emotions. Even inside, they feel inner peace, they feel gratefulness, right? But it's not the intense feelings. But we are like this. Usually people are like this. And the more you go into the pluses, the more you can drift back into the minuses. And that's what bothers us, right? This instability, right? This impermanence of the state that we want to achieve. Because we want the happiness and we feel like, okay, if I have this, I'm going to be happy, right? If it's not like this, then we go into disappointment. So we expect this. And if it doesn't happen, we go drift, right? We get very excited and then we get very sad. And it's just like this. It's like a roller coaster. But what we actually want is the inner balance. So black or white thinking usually causes us to do this all the time, to drift between excitement, anger, and, it can lead to a lot of problems with our health, emotional and physical. So what it can lead to emotionally black or white thinking, when it's like either this or that, it leads to anger and frustration because you are like, it has to be perfect. This is also, by the way, perfectionism is also a rigid thinking. It's also a symptom of a rigid mind. So if you're noticing that you're like, it has to be perfect, it's never enough, right? You get very frustrated, very unhappy, very sad, and disappointed. Disappointment is one of the symptoms of black and white um, thoughts, right? It's either this or nothing. And usually, right, what we expect doesn't happen, or it happens in a different way, or it happens at a different time. So we never know. And because we never know, we get very disappointed because we want to control things, right? I want to control. So anger, frustration, and disappointment is one of the emotional states when we have the rigid mind. Another thing is blaming and victimizing, because when we have black or white thinking, right? And for example, you have this belief that money is evil, for example, right? This is also a symptom of a rigid thinking. Money is evil. If someone comes to you and says, you know what, that's not true. Where did you get it from? You can say, no, money's good. It's my best friend. I love money. Money brings so much value into this world. I can do so much for the people with my money. So people start to tell you this, and you start to feel frustrated because this is not your belief, right? And you don't want to accept that. Rigid thinking is the box, remember, right? Your mind is in the box, and whatever comes into it, you reject automatically. So, and then we start to blame and to victimize, right? Oh, because they're lucky. Or of course they think like that because they got lucky, or they had another things, they have the other. So we start to blame others, ourselves, to victimize, right? Because we don't want to take the responsibility for our own healing, right? The fear of responsibility. Don't confuse taking responsibility for your actions with blaming yourself, because these are completely different things. Blaming yourself is when we want to take the time back. We want to punish ourselves. Taking responsibility is learning from the experience, right? Taking responsibility, yes, that happened. I acted the way I could in that situation, but I'm taking the experience and taking the best out of it. So that's responsibility. Now, this has nothing to do with blaming. Taking responsibility. Oh, I had, by the way, a very funny story. I had a friend, an amazing girl, who told me that taking responsibility for your action means that does that mean that you're guilty of everything that happened to you in the past or in your childhood? It's like, it's like a messed up religion. I was like, that's a bigger problem than what we were talking about. But it's not, right? Taking responsibility is knowing that everything that happened, it wasn't happening to us. It happened for us for some reason, to learn something, to heal, maybe to help others with the same problem. Right? But people love to victimize and to blame and to put the responsibility on everyone else, but not themselves. So fears, by the way, fears is another symptom of the rigid thinking, because we start to be afraid of everything that doesn't come into that box, into that rigid thinking. Rigid thinking is the beliefs combined with logical conclusions. Right? So the belief from the subconscious mind that we formed very early in life, combined with the logical, logic and the subconscious mind made their conclusion. Yes, this is it. This is it. And the logic tries to find explanation. Subconscious gives you symptoms, and emotions and feelings. And it becomes like a really huge mess in our head. So the best way how to approach black or white thinking, how to get out of that, is to identify, to acknowledge that, yes, I do have that, right? Because the more you run away from yourself, it doesn't mean that the problem will go away. No, maybe you still need that experience. Usually when people say, oh, no, 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 I'm never going to do the inner work. I don't want to go and do anything. I don't want to do any self. I don't want to look into the past. I don't want to, like, it's no, 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 no. It's in the past. I'm just going to bury it. Um, then it means that you still need your experience. Still need some challenges, issues, pain in order to bring you towards understanding that, we are here and the meaning of us is to do better. But in order to do better for our next generations, we need to look back and to see, to recognize, okay, this is what I don't want. Very often, writing down what you don't want is even better than to write down what you want. Because very often we don't know what we want. So make a note. If you don't know what you want, write a list of what you don't want. Physical symptoms. Physical symptoms of rigid mind is rigid beliefs, right, that are holding you back and you're like either like this or like that, right? When you are very, very manipulative methods of living, really. Usually headaches and tension in the muscles, right? Because we tense. I'm not going to accept anything else. The muscles, when they say, I am not accepting any other outcome but this. So, and we get very tense in our muscles. Headaches, of course, because headache, right, is a troubled mind. Headaches is a troubled mind, lots of guilt, lots of shame, lots of suppressed blame. So headaches, and you do the test, you go to the doctors. How often headaches are not diagnosed and healed in terms of like finding the root cause, right? And doctors do the best they can. They do the best they can. They separate your body from your head and they say, okay, this is a head. We're going to look at it. And they look at you as parts. This is your hand. This is your liver. This is your kidney. This is your throat. And then they look at it not as a holistic, human being. Muscle tension, autoimmune disease. When we have rigid thinking regarding trust, I don't trust the world. I don't even trust myself. I don't believe in myself. Very often, if you say that to yourself or to the world or to the universe or to other people, the body is listening and it's like, okay, if you don't accept yourself, you don't trust yourself, then we're not going to trust whatever is happening in your body. Your cells defined not trusting in yourself, that they will not trust whatever processes happen in your body. And then we start to have lots of autoimmune disease, and it's all fueled by food, right? Lifestyles and all of those, but those are just fueling it. The cause is different, but everything else just fuels it, okay? When we don't trust ourselves, we don't love ourselves. We don't love ourselves, we don't give our body the best. So we start to eat shit stuff, right? So this is how it is. Liver and kidney. Liver is anger, right? So problems with liver is the suppressed anger, is the frustration, is the aggression. So all of these is in our liver, if it's psychosomatic, of course. So this will be the physical symptoms of the rigid mind as well. The rigid mind brings a lot of anger. A lot of anger. Why? Because it's the mind. It's not you. You organically, naturally want the best for yourself. Want the most beneficial things for yourself. And they don't come with black or white thinking. Sometimes we do need that. For example, if you formed a core value, a core thing that you believe in, for example, that I will be kind to people. I will be kind. I don't want to be unkind to people. So it's also like a black or white, right? Thinking, but that brings benefit to you. And in those terms, you can absolutely stand up for yourself and you can protect that core value. But that will benefit you and everyone else. If it doesn't benefit you, it probably doesn't benefit anyone else around you. So kidneys and liver. Kidneys is life, right? It's the flow, right? It's water, right? So how you can find the balance, how you can stop being this, right? Being like this, plus minus, how you can stop having this black or white, how you stop putting, these threats, saying these threats to yourself, threatening yourself and others, right? With that thinking. How you can do that is first identifying, so acknowledging that you have a black or white thinking regarding anything. It could be love, trust, economy, money, loyalty, government, kids, parenting, relationship, intimate relationship. So all of it, if you identify, okay, I have it. Yes, I do. And it doesn't really help me. The next question that you ask yourself is, how does that help you in life? But be honest with yourself. Really, be honest with yourself. If you found out that you have a belief, a very rigid belief, limiting belief that you thought was helping you, but it's actually really like in the way of your happiness, ask yourself, how does that help you? If you believe in it. For example, if you believe only in the traditional methods of treatment, for example, in a traditional healthcare. So if you only believe in that, does that help you? Did that help you to heal any of your physical symptoms completely? If the answer is in 90% no, then it's probably not helping you. That you need to open your mind and you combine two methods, right? If I have a fever, I will take an Advil for sure. If I have a very high fever, I will take an Advil, but I will always look at the cause. What caused my immune system to right now to fight, right? To activate and to give the fever as a symptom that something is happening in my body. How? Why? What was the stress? What was the exhaustion, overwhelm, maybe like lack of inner resources? Maybe there was something that happened before that led to this problem always. Because I don't want that to happen every month, for example. So all of these things are very important. If you have a rigid mind, then yes, that's if that usually doesn't help. And if you think that it helps, you need to dig deeper, a little bit deeper. Start taking the responsibility for your own healing. Another way that you can, for example, you've identified the belief or the thought that is black or white, and you have something like that. You start to ask yourself, is there another way? Can it be the other way? Not just this. Can it be the other way? And if you found out some other options and choices, you can absolutely, explore those options. For example, is knife good or bad? Is a tool, a knife, is it good or bad? It depends, right? It depends in who is holding it. If it's mom who is cooking a Christmas dinner for her kids, it's a good tool. If it's a criminal who's about to hurt someone, then that's a bad thing. So when you have, right, when you open your mind, you start to see things more clearly, not more overwhelming, but actually more clearly. So rigid thinking usually limits us. It doesn't give us a choice. It doesn't give us the possibilities, doesn't give us opportunities. Usually rigid thinking just limits us and we say, I have no other choice. It's either this or this, and that's it. When we have this thinking, the fear of dying activates. It can lead to the intense fear of dying because if it doesn't happen like this, then that's it. That's the end, right? So when you have only two options, when you see only two options, either this or it's failure. It's either perfect or it's none. Oh, the fear of dying activates. Fear of dying gives us a lot of symptoms, by the way. Health anxiety, social anxiety, phobias, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, OCD, like so many things. fears. So when we better not activate that fear of dying, right? It's a normal reaction just to protect our body. But when we start to trigger that with the rigid mind, with the rigid thinking, with the black or white thoughts, then yes, then it's better not to do that, because it definitely doesn't help. So seeing many options is one of the best ways how you can start really, really eh, finding more happiness in life, finding more inner peace, finding more balance, not drifting into pluses and minuses, right? Like crazy, feeling like, I had people who were so worried about their black or white thinking that they thought they were borderline. They started to think like, oh, maybe I have bipolar, right? So I'm either this or this. I change decisions. I change, my mood shifts are crazy, right? Because the more you jump into the plus, the more you jump into the minus as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope that helps you, learn more about yourself. This is really important. The reason for these lives is for you to learn more about yourself. To learn more about yourself. This is the best you can do for yourself. The best investment you can do is to learn about yourself and to start the healing journey, and to continue. Once you start it, it's going. It's going. It will evolve in the best, most beneficial way for you. I love you all. I hope this was valuable. Please share it with your friends. Please share this live, because this is something that people need to hear, right? And it can help them. I have lots of meditations on my YouTube channel. Please listen to them. I have lots. I have at least 15 for sure that you can listen to, and you can find some balance, some inner peace within yourself. And the more you do it, the more familiar it becomes. And the more familiar it becomes like second nature, that you don't even question that inner peace. So open your mind. There is no black or white. There's something in the middle. And in that middle is your happiness. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Be healthy, emotionally and physically.